So you want to be a pro musician, but you got questions about auditions. How does one even get the chance to audition for a gig? And if you do get the chance, how can you nail it so that you're the one they pick for the job? Whether you're trying to get a gig in a cover band or a wedding band or with a great big top 40 pop star. Sometimes it's in video form. You're going to have to take a video of yourself playing or something like that and send it in. But many times it's in person. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to toot my own horn for a minute here. I've done a lot of auditions over the years, and I'm going to tell you, I've gotten almost every gig that I've gone out for. There's really only a couple that I didn't get. One was 9 Inch Nails, and I almost got it. That was the one that got away. One was Don Henley. I auditioned in the year 2000 for the gig, and I was the first runner-up. They gave the gig to Peter Stroud above me, which is the right decision. He was the right guitar player for the gig at that time. But 9 years later, I got the chance to audition again. I went back and nailed it that time and got the gig, which felt great. I'll make a confession. I love getting gigs, and I'm competitive when it comes to auditions. I like to go in and be the best guy in the room for the job and nail it. Getting the gig is almost as important as doing the gig to me. I don't know whether that's some like seeking approval crap or that I should probably get some therapy for or something. But I do feel like one of my skills is knowing how to do a good audition. And I'm going to pass along to you guys the keys to the kingdom now. I'm going to tell you all my tricks. Also, a little bit later on in this video, I'm going to be joined by Kurt Biscara, who's played with everybody from Elton John to Mick Jagger to Rod Stewart. I mean, everybody under the sun. And he's going to share some great audition stories and some real valuable insight. So number one, how do you even get an audition? And the answer is networking. I know I've said it before in this video series, but there's no substitute for going out and meeting people. You got to get out, make friends, go out, play with different people, do all kinds of gigs, because you never know when one of those people that you're working with, it could be in a cover band or it could be in an original band. You just never know. It could be an engineer, it could be a drummer, it could be a bass player. Musicians, music business people, folks from all walks of life, really. You just never know where it's going to come from, but it really is through networking and just meeting people, and that's how you make the connections that are going to lead to job opportunities. So once again, get out and play with whoever you can, make friends, go out and see bands play, just go up and introduce yourself after and say, you guys were great, and make friends. Take every opportunity that you can to play, and this is going to lead to other opportunities down the road. Now, if you do get a chance to audition for a band, the philosophy to go into the audition with is I want to be the best person in the room for the job. If I'm the best person in the room for the job, I'm going to get the gig. So that's going to be above all else, okay? Just keep that in mind. It sounds simple and silly, almost in its simplicity, but it is the number one thing. Okay, all I got to do is be the best person for the job. I'll get the gig. Now, how do you do that? Preparation. There is no substitute for preparation, okay? By that, I mean, you've got to spend time listening to the music and the material. You got to spend time learning the material, getting it down pat. You want to get the songs under your fingers so that it feels second nature to play them. Now, I'm the type of person that likes to learn things note for note. I like to learn the solos. I like to learn all the parts. If a song has multiple parts in it, I like to have a handle on all of them and maybe have an idea of how to play a composite version of all those parts together in case that's required, or else I can pick one of the parts and just nail that if that's required. I heard a story about Chris Shiflett when he was auditioning for the Foo Fighters. They said that a lot of great guitar players came in, but when he came in, he knew how to play all the different parts of the songs. And that really impressed Dave Grohl, and that he could just nail any one of their parts, and so he got the gig. So I'll spend a lot of time really making sure that I'm nailing the feel and the sort of the soul of the parts. I heard a friend of mine say once that it's kind of like being an actor, learning parts for songs. You're going to learn these parts exactly, and then you're going to go out and deliver the lines just like an actor would in a play, let's say. And if you approach it that way, then it sort of makes more sense. Now, you never know. You might get into the audition. They might say, that was great. You played the solo off of the record or whatever, but can you take your own solo? Let me hear you do that. But I find it's always best to learn the parts off the record and really have that under your fingers. It can't hurt. It just shows dedication, and it shows that you've got the ability to do it. And it's just a great place to start from musically if you've kind of got the album version nailed. Now, this goes for tones for me too. I will spend a lot of time really trying to dial in the sounds so that they really resemble the tones on the album. So this means generally, like, I'll program my pedal board, make presets, all that stuff for the songs. And I found that doing that work really sort of bodes well for showing my dedication and that I'm a hard worker. You know, when they look over at you and you're there and you've got your presets on your pedal board all dialed in, you've got them all titled and stuff like that with the, you know, the name of the song, and it'll say this part's the verse, and then you hit the next preset, it says chorus. They're looking at you going, this guy did a lot of homework. So prepare the parts, learn all the parts really well, and nail the tones. One of the gigs I got through auditioning was with the band 40 Foot Echo, a Hollywood Records band that I made an album with and did some touring with many years ago. And I remember the singer telling me that a guy had come in to audition and he hadn't learned the parts off of the demo. He came in and said, yeah, I didn't really have time to listen to music much, but do you want me to just kind of blow lead over your songs? I mean, I wouldn't even go if I hadn't learned the music. But anyway, that's what the guy said. And the singer, Murray, he just said, yeah, just do that. Because he just wanted to see what he would do. But just suffice it to say, I mean, you got to prepare. You can't go in there not having learned the music and just play some solos over the chord progressions and hope to get the gig. I also recommend learning live versions of the songs, which is easier than ever to do now with YouTube. I mean, even if you're auditioning for a cover band, you're probably going to be able to go on YouTube and find videos of that cover band playing somewhere, and you can watch live versions of the way they've performed songs in the past and get an idea about things like if the tempo's any different, if the keys are different, how they end the song live. So whether it's for a great big, you know, popular artist or even for a cover band, this is information that you can find out just by looking on YouTube generally or Instagram and looking for live videos of the way that they perform their songs. So once again, it's just preparation. It's doing research. Also do some preparation and research on the band or artist that you're going to be auditioning for. You know, try and find out as much as you can about them. I think it's a nice personal touch if you know a little bit about who you're going in to play with. I mean, you don't want to be creepy about it, but it doesn't hurt to throw in like, hey, didn't you grow up in Philadelphia? You know, my cousin's from Philadelphia or something like that. Whatever, you know, if you just know a little bit about them, I mean, it helps to bridge the gap and start making conversation beyond just playing the music. Now, part of preparing is practicing like you're going to be auditioning. So what do I mean by that? I mean, well, don't just play the songs, you know, sitting down in a chair at home, and then the first time you play standing up with a guitar strap on and the guitar strung low is at the audition. That's not going to feel the same as the way that you were rehearsing the songs at home. So what you want to do is, at the very least, stand up and play the songs when you're practicing them at home once you've learned them. You know, turn up a little bit, play, like get used to playing the songs moving around a little bit so that you look comfortable and confident playing them and you're used to the position that the guitar's in. Also, if there's background vocals involved, really work on those. Like singing is such a big deal. It can make or break getting a gig, actually. So if you can grab a vocal part or maybe learn a couple of the vocal parts, you can go in there and say, hey, I learned this part and this part. Do you guys want me to sing? Or just step up to the mic and sing if it's not spoken about before you start playing a song. Just do it, and people will look over and go, oh, they sing, that's great. So I've gone as far as to actually like rent a rehearsal room and set up a full, you know, guitar rig and PA and play loud through the PA, playing my guitar, singing into a microphone along with the album in order to get ready for auditions. I want to put myself into that comfort zone and feel what it feels like as much as possible, simulate the actual audition experience while I'm practicing. Now, I've even done this like right before auditions where, you know, other guys are in auditioning for the gig down the hall, and then I'm in a rehearsal room down the way. I'll book it for 2 or 3 hours before my audition, go in there and be warming up and playing like full volume. Like I said, I'm very competitive about auditions. So, you know, as the band's coming out and other guys are going into play, they can hear this guy down the hall like rehearsing their songs. I think just from a psychological perspective, if I heard somebody doing that when I was a band, I'd say, okay, that person's obviously serious. Anyway, I can't overstate it enough. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Did I mention prepare? And practice like you're going to be auditioning. Standing up, playing hard, moving around, singing if necessary. Now, attitude is huge too. You want to be super friendly. That's number one. But you also want to be confident, but not overconfident. So that's that read the room thing. It's a fine line, you know, but you want to go in confident, and a little bit of nervousness is okay. You know, everybody gets a little bit nervous when they're meeting new people, and especially when they're vying for a job that they want. I mean, let's keep in mind, this is just at the heart, it's a job interview like any other. So you can be a little nervous. That's okay. It's normal. But you want to be confident without being cocky. And the thing that's going to help you do that and be at ease is, once again, number one, preparation. If you go in there knowing your stuff, it's going to ease your nervousness, and it's going to help, you know, a long ways towards you going in there with a confident attitude. So a little bit more about attitude. You want to be relaxed, easygoing, and flexible. I remember doing an audition once. I arrived to, it was a big recording studio in LA that I did the audition at. And I thought, we're probably all going to set up in the same room and play together. But when I got there, it was much more like an isolated kind of recording session environment. That was going to be the audition. They were filming us all, everybody in the band, but we were kind of separated. And they asked me if it'd be okay if I wore in-ear monitors to do the audition. I was in a really loose mood that day and feeling good about things, and I wasn't, taking anything too seriously or anything like that. And we said, yeah, like whatever you want. I don't have my own in-ears here, but if you guys got some generic ones or whatever. And they said, yeah, we just got these. They're kind of crappy. I hope it's okay. They were just like single driver, generic in-ears. And I put them in. I was like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Whatever you want. Later on, the musical director of the band told me it was part of how easygoing I was about that experience that helped him pick me actually for the gig. He said that had been an issue for a couple of the other people that came in. They were uncomfortable with that idea, but he liked how I just rolled with it and did it. So just be flexible. Know that no two are ever the same. I mean, you're going to go in and it's going to be different people, different setup. Everything's always different with these things. So if you go in without any expectations of exactly how it's going to go, that's the best thing. Just roll with it and be flexible, set up and do the best that you can. Now, gear. Many times with auditions, you'll find that if they're auditioning a large number of players, you might get the word that, hey, we're going to have a guitar amp there, and just bring your guitar. That's all you're going to need. We're trying to do the turnover kind of quick between different players so we can hear a lot of people. I actually always request that I can use my own rig. Part of the reason for that is, as people out there probably know if they watch my videos, tones are a big deal to me. It's a big part of what I do. Nailing sounds is really important to me. Getting the best tones is really important to me. I want to go in there and sound great. Like I feel like that's really helps me to put my best foot forward. So many times I will sort of subtly or politely, insist that I can bring my own things because it's a big part of what I do. And I always promise that I'm going to make it really streamlined and fast and not get in anybody's way and, make it an easy process. I just request that I'm allowed to use my own gear. If you're mainly a pedal board sort of bass player and you get your tones out of your pedals and you're comfortable plugging into a clean amplifier, you might be fine with just using whatever amplifier is there and setting it clean and just bringing your pedal board and bringing your guitars, getting the tones out of your pedals mainly. Or maybe there's going to be a speaker cabinet and head there. In that case, you could bring an amplifier head and just plug it into their cabinet. You're not going to have to, move your own cabinet in and out of the room then. That'll help save time. But if it's at all possible, I like to generally bring like my full rig. I want people to hear and see like exactly what I can do. I put so much time generally into programming sounds, making sure like delay times are just right. And, I just feel like, it's a big part of putting my best foot forward to get the job. And it also shows, that you're dedicated. Yeah, sure, maybe it's going to take a little bit longer to set up your gear, set up your full rig and all that stuff. But, if people can see that you're dedicated enough to bring all that stuff and that you've put the work in once again into getting the tones together, I think that just says a lot about who you are. That might not work for everybody. I mean, some guitar players might be the kind of guitar player like, yeah, part of my thing is I just plug into whatever and I can get my sound. It's all in my hands or whatever. And that might work great for them. But I'm just saying what's worked well for me is really taking the tone seriously and bringing my rig. So one thing that's been helpful if I have to actually bring a full rig and it's rather large and it takes some time to set up and whatnot is actually hiring a tech. So if it's a really big gig and I feel like I really want to put my best foot forward, I'll call a friend or guitar tech friend of mine to come down and actually cart my gear to the audition and set it up for me. And what that allows me to do is really keep my mind on the music. This is a thing that drummers do all the time. It's not something that I've seen a lot of guitar players do, but you always see drummers have their tech come in and set up their kit and then they just walk in and play and do the audition. So that always made an impression on me because I was thinking, well, if I'm lifting speaker cabinets and plugging things in and running around and stuff, and then all of a sudden I got to plug in and go, okay, let's play. I'm not going to be warmed up. I'm not going to be thinking about the music. I'm going to be, my head's going to be in 100 different places, making sure everything's plugged in right and the guitars are all tuned. So it can be worth the expense to just hire somebody to help you out with that stuff for the day. I mean, this is a job potentially that could, provide you a lot of employment, change your life maybe. So it can be worth the expense. It also allows you to just kind of warm up while they're setting your gear up. You can have the guitar in your hand, just be singing in the hallway or whatever, playing, just getting ready to do your thing. Now, when you actually are playing and doing the audition, once again, you want to sort of exude confidence and a little bit of nervousness is okay. But you want to kind of try and bridge that gap. Maybe you've never played with these people before. Maybe you have played with some of them or whatever. But, if you haven't, if this is an unfamiliar situation, it's an intangible thing, but you want to try and make them feel comfortable with you. everything's getting scrutinized. I mean, the clothes you wear to the audition are getting scrutinized. Your hair, how tall you are. They're looking at every single element and trying to figure out, is this guy going to fit in with our band? And so anything you can do to kind of like make them feel comfortable. Maybe it's not cool to like walk over to them while you're playing, but maybe it is. Maybe they're kind of like, maybe you can just sense somebody's body language. If it feels like, they're looking at you and they want to jam with you, you could walk over when you're playing a part or taking a solo and kind of give them a smile or whatever, lean into it and just try and bridge that gap. But once again, that might not be the appropriate thing to do. So you just have to read the situation and feel it out and try and do the right thing. If somebody asks you to turn up or turn down, be flexible. And once again, if you've actually learned different versions of the songs, mention that. Say, hey, I listened to the live ending of this song. Do you guys end it like that still? Or and they'll be looking at you thinking like, wow, they really did their homework. So the number one goal is, in all of this, and this is huge, what I want to make them feel like is, hey, we could walk out and play a gig right now and it would be pretty good. I mentioned this before in a previous episode, but this can be a stressful time, like trying to look for a new musician for a band, even if it's a smaller band or if it's a great big, great big star. They're worried about whether or not they're going to find the right person. They got 100 things on their mind, especially if it's a big artist and they got a new album coming out. There's a lot that they're thinking about. So you want to be, once again, a problem solved, If they can look over at you and be sort of pleasantly surprised that it seems like, hey, I think we've got our person here, like the issue's solved, we've found a great player, and actually I'm really excited about this. And once again, if you can make them feel like after playing through a song or two that like, wow, we could walk out right now and play a show and it'd be pretty good. Like we've only got up to go from here. That's the goal. Okay, and kind of the last thing, don't make demands. What you want to do is get offered the gig and then decide if it's the right thing for you. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the travel. Don't worry about any of that kind of stuff right out of the gate. Just make it this organic musical thing. I mean, at the core of it, right? Everybody starts playing music for the same reason, I think. It's because it's fun and it just turns them on. So make the audition about that. Let the business stuff come later, and then you can decide if it's the right gig for you. I always try and get the gig. I want to be offered the gig. I want to be the number one person in the slot that is right at the top that they're going to offer the gig to. Once you get offered the gig, then you can start talking about all that other stuff and decide if it's right for you or not. Okay, just in closing, there's one more thing that I heard once, and I love this philosophy, and I really think it holds true. Okay, there's three things within a gig. There's the music, there's the money, and there's the hang. If you got all three of those things in a gig, that is a perfect gig. In other words, if the money's great, the music's great, and everybody's cool, and the hang is great, that is a dream gig. Okay, you can also have any two of those elements, and it's a pretty good gig then. So what do I mean by that? Well, if the money's good and the hang is great, but the music is like, it's not exactly what I like playing, it's still going to be a pretty fun gig. You're going to make some cake, and you're going to have some good friends to hang out with, and then it'll seem like, all worth it. If the music's great and the hang is great, but the money is so-so, well, if you can swing it, you're going to have a great time with some friends playing some killer tunes. So any two of the three still makes it okay. But if there's only one element in those three elements that exist for any given gig, in other words, no matter how great the money is, if the hang sucks and the music stinks, you're going to be unhappy. So just always remember that. Music, money, hang. You want to shoot for all three. Any two is still pretty good. Hey, look who's here. It's Kirky B.
Yes, sirree. It's me.
You've probably done a metric... I was going to say shit ton. Can I say that in this video?
Heck yeah, why not?
Okay, of auditions in your life, because you've played with...
Oh my God, many.
I mean, so many people, right?
Too many people sometimes, I think. You have to let them know that when you're coming in, that you're the guy that could do exactly what they need you to do, but you're going to add a personality, you're going to add a sound, you're going to add something that's going to be individualized, but as a team player. You're going in there to be the quarterback, but you're there to make sure that everyone scores the touchdown.
The one thing I remember, because I did an audition with you once, where we played together, and that was the first day I met you.
Yeah.
And we're great friends now. And one of the things I remember about you right off the bat is how much fun you were. Like when you came in, you've got a great personality and just a great vibe. So that's helpful too, right?
Well, absolutely, because I've been on so many auditions. I remember guitar players coming in, bass players, keyboard players, and some were just like me, really jovial and fun and into it.
Right.
Other guys just like a dark cloud, just not into it, and they're like coming in acting as if, you're lucky if you have me kind of vibe. And it's like, fuck off, dude.
Now, having said that, you go and you throw down. Because you are who you are,
Well,
you put in the time.
Yeah.
You
put in those 10,000 hours and you just go in with a confidence and you go in knowing the material. And I've played...
Preparation, right?
Yeah, and I've played everywhere from the gamut, from super funky R&B, grease juice, funky, funk, all the way to super rock, and anywhere in between, Sarah McLachlan or whoever. And it's just the vibe. And you have to have a love for the music and you have to have an understanding of the music. And like with Sarah, it's not about hitting hard. It's about supporting the vocal and the melody. With Morris Day and the Time, it's about holding the funky ass groove down. With Mick Jagger, it's driving the train,
Right. Yeah. So you've got, speaking of, let's segue into that because I love audition strategy. The strategy behind getting gigs and stuff another squeaky chair.
That's all right.
Squeaky chair.
John Bonham.
Yeah. Totally. We were just listening to the drum track from All of My Love where he's like grunting and groaning and it's the pedals doing that.
I love that.
But yeah, so you went in to audition for Mick Jagger and I always remember, because I love audition strategy, and I always remember you telling me about being in the hallway and hearing everybody else play, and I think Mick was asking people what they wanted to play, right? And then what happened?
Yeah, everyone's asking, or Mick is asking everyone, all the drummers that are coming in that day, like, hey, what do we want to play? And they're always picking the obvious, Painted Black, Brown Sugar, Satisfaction, all the hits. And so when it came my turn, I knew, sitting on the couch listening to everybody going, oh, okay, that guy totally ruled at playing, Painted Black or whatever. And I'm thinking, wait a second. I'm a James Brown fan. I love James Brown. I learned listening to the James Brown drummers, and I realized, yeah, that's right. Mick Jagger loves James Brown so much that he executive produced the movie Get On Up, about James Brown.
You knew that he loved.
I knew that he loved James Brown. So when it was time for me to audition, he's like, all right, Kurt, what would you like to play? And I'm like, he's probably expecting me to say anything off of Exile on Main Street or something.
Right.
But I go, let's play Cold Sweat by James Brown. His eyes got this big. All right, then, count it off. And we end up playing for 20 minutes. And he's singing and he starts getting into it and sweating and going back and forth to the stage, doing the chicken dance. And it was going off. And the whole time I'm just playing the Cold Sweat groove, watching Mick Jagger dance and sing the Cold Sweat.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, this is awesome.
And then he gives you the gig.
So then we stopped the song and he turns around and said, all right, then we start rehearsals for the record and tour next week. And I'm like, yes. And that was my strategy,
Yeah. And so you probably went in not even thinking that day. You probably went in, okay, I'm going to play like whatever Stones tunes and stuff. And on the spot, in the hallway, you change your mind, right?
And right there and then, because it was the other drummers, and thank you, other drummers, that I had auditioned for that gig, because it spawned the idea of me to go, oh shit, that's right, he digs James Brown.
Right.
Let me bust out a James Brown song.
How can I separate myself from...
How can I make
do something different?
Right, how can I be different and separate myself, yet fulfill his needs?
Yeah.
So his needs were fulfilled, not with Stones, but with James Brown.
Yeah, that's cool. And how can you set yourself apart, do something different, make them have a great time, let them know that you're a super fun dude to hang out with, because you're like, let's get funky, right?
Let's get funky. But I could also rock the shit too, man. Let's get into Can't You Hear Me Knocking? I could do that too, but let's explore this aspect of it and have fun and make music, because it is about music.
Yeah.
We forget it's not spectator sport, YouTube, Instagram. It's about getting in a band and playing music.
All right, thanks for doing this.
Awesome, thank you.
Great stories.
Cool.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of So You Want to Be a Pro Musician. Thanks to my friend Kurt for stopping by and telling us that awesome Mick Jagger story. That dude is just a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I can't thank him enough. Please check out my album, Pete Thorn 2. It's everywhere. There's a smart URL link in the video description down below. And please hit the thumbs up if you dug the video. Share it with your friends if you liked it. And hit subscribe on my channel if you haven't. Come back and see me for more videos real soon. I'm Pete Thorn. Take care.